Oh, they got a little model there next to him. That's so cute. Completely, like, off topic, kind of. I really like this design of Space Shuttle. Because I know there are some different... I literally have a model of Discovery. I have, like, a giant Lego model of Discovery sitting on my desk right now. I love it. It's so good. I love this model of Space Shuttle. It's so cool. I love him so much. The commission report talked about the technical causes of the accident. The entire failure could be traced to an O-ring. But every time I read it, it's like, are you serious? An O-ring? Are you fucking kidding me? An O-ring. A rubber seal on the solid rocket boosters, according to NASA technical reports server, that degraded in the cold weather of the launch. This is why we listen to the engineers and the people who know what they're talking about. This is why when they say something's wrong and we probably shouldn't do it, you fucking listen. This is why. That right there is why. That right there. I might actually go back and read this at some point. But the O-ring would not have been a problem had NASA not chosen to launch on such a cold day. Oh no, oh. According to an NPR interview with one of the shuttle engineers. While the engineer blames himself for not convincing NASA and high-level managers of the danger of the cold presented, a U.S. House of Representatives report from the Committee of Science and Technology concluded that it was a long-standing failure of safety protocols combined with an unstable launch rate that led to the disaster. Oh, that poor person. Oh, that poor engineer. Good God. Like, and that's the thing that kind of scares me about that right there is genuinely what scares me about going into aviation myself. Is because it's like, if I ever, hopefully, end up working on something like this, and then this happens, and it's like, I knew something was wrong, but I either didn't convince the right people, or I wasn't loud enough to make them listen. Oh, God. I would be devastated. Oh, that poor man. This whole situation is utterly terrible. Like, it is... I'll be honest, I blame the high-level managers. Like, personally, I listening to this engineer. Because sometimes managers understand what's going on, and sometimes they don't at all. Like, sometimes the manager started out in your position and knows where you're coming from and knows what you're talking about. Sometimes that is absolutely not the case at all. I don't know what it is here, but I do have the feeling that the high-level manager started where that engineer was at the time. So I feel like they should have known better. Someone should have known better. Ooh, related stories. Oh. In the wake of what happened with Challenger, NASA made technical changes to the shuttle and also worked to change the safety and accountability culture of its workforce, as it absolutely should have. The shuttle program resumed flight in 1988, according to a piece by NASA. After the Challenger wreckage was examined, most of the pieces were buried and sealed in abandoned Minuteman missile silos. Oh! At Cape Canaveral? God, my dyslexia is kicking in today. Air Force Station, where they remain today. That's kind of cool that they're in abandoned Minuteman missile silos. Man, imagine saying that 5 times fast, 6 times over. Woo! Challenger's explosions changed the shuttle program in several ways. Plans to fly civilians in space were shelved for the next 22 years. I am not surprised, according to the Smithsonian. Oh, yeah. It would not be until 2007 that Barbara Morgan, who was McAuliffe's backup, really flew aboard Endeavour. And they spell it the British way. Finally, we're doing something right. Satellite launches were shifted from the shuttle to reusable rockets. Additionally, astronauts were pulled off of duties such as repairing satellites. Damn it! And the manned maneuvering unit was not flown again to better preserve astronaut safety. God damn it. I'm gonna do it anyway. That's okay. They actually do need people up there now that like know how to fix stuff. I was talking to a professor about it. I was actually talking to a professor about it yesterday, and I was telling him, and I was like, I want to go to space. Like, that is my thing. And he's like, go to Boeing, because Boeing has people, like, they send their people to do the things because their people know what's going on because they're the manufacturers. And I was like, I'm going to go work at Boeing. Boeing, hire me, please. That would be awesome. Boeing, please hire me. I like how I get really up close to the mic when I say that. That's funny. Nice. Ooh, bibliography. I'm being a nerd right now. Ooh, Smithsonian. We love to see it. Yep, that sounds about right. New York Times. Got some big names in here. I mean, as you should if you're writing a report on this kind of thing. But those people. It's always hard to read about these kind of things, but I do not think I will ever stop reading about these things because I think it's important. I keep drawing this back to like my job, which I mean, I guess it's important for me to do that. Learn lessons from history. Those who do not know their history are doomed to repeat it. So I think I will keep looking at all of these things, and I will keep critically thinking about how those things either could have turned out differently or could have been prevented. Because usually it's a chain of events that lead to something happening, like shift change happened and no one communicated. This is actually a thing that happened. It was like, it was day shift to night shift. They were working on a plane. They were already way overstressed. They had way too much to do, which is honestly a fault on the company's part. Like, stop overstressing your workers. I understand that you need to do things, but chill the fuck out sometimes. Just throwing that out there. So they were way overworked. They were behind schedule. So one of the main flight controls, one of the main things that help you fly the plane. So they were supposed to pull off one of the sides of that, put it back on, and like do some fixing. I think it was like recalibration of it. I don't know. Anyway, the point is they had to pull it off and put it back on. So day shift didn't get to it. Night shift comes in. They're working on the plane. They're doing their things. They come to the end of night shift, and the manager there says, hey, I know everyone's a little bit behind. I'll stay a little bit extra. I'll take off all the bolts so day shift can just like do the thing and put it back on, and they don't have to worry about it. So the road to hell is paved in good intentions. So this manager takes off all the bolts, does what he needs to do, gets it set up for the day shift. Day shift comes in, and I don't think anyone told them that he did it, or maybe he did tell them and someone forgot. I don't actually know what happened, but day shift ended up not knowing and not fixing it and not doing what they needed to do with it because they were so busy. So someone okays the plane to be, taken out of maintenance and flown again, but no one put the bolts back on the elevator. So that thing is hanging on with a piece of string and a prayer at this point. So they get everyone on the plane, they got the pilots, they got whatever. The plane takes off. They're up flying for a little bit. And all of a sudden, the elevator just flies off. The E is gone. It's off in a cornfield. I'm not even kidding when I say this. It's off in a cornfield somewhere. And the plane crashes, killing everyone on board. Unfortunately. They send out, some helicopters, they send out some people to do recovery of all of the parts because they can't just leave them sitting out there. And they are looking for so long for this fucking elevator that came off, and you it literally landed perfectly vertical next to a fence post. So, like, you really couldn't see it. The only reason they found it is because someone in the helicopter who was looking saw, like, a glint, and they were like, that is a wooden fence. I don't think that should be glinting like that. And so they landed, and they were like, oh, shit. And then they radioed in, and they were like, hey, we found the piece. All right, cool. So yeah, they went back to the logbook entries. They found out that this is what happened. And again, it was like a chain of events. So it was like the people being overworked, a couple mock tests like that in some of my classes. We actually did a thing where it was I don't remember what the class was. Power plant of the aircraft, that was the class. And we had just this massive crankshaft and crankcase sitting in front of us, and it was jammed, so the crankcase wasn't spinning. And we had to try and figure out what it was. But the thing is each 10 minutes we would switch from day shift and we would just kind of do that. And we weren't allowed to talk to the other group, because that's normally how it is for day shift and night shift. So they go in. I was in the night shift group, so day shift goes in. They're doing whatever it is they're doing. And then, 10 minutes up, we cycle in. We're looking at it, and we're like, okay, we don't even know what they found. Like, we could be literally doing the same things that they were doing. We didn't know. 10 minutes later, cycle the day shift back in. They make a little bit of progress. They figure out a couple things. They get a couple things, in different places. We go back, and we're like, they changed a couple things, but I'll be damned if I know what they did. We kept switching back and forth. Eventually, we did do it, but it is extremely difficult to not communicate with the other shift and figure out what the fuck they were doing. And they had the same problem with us. It's like, we would figure a couple things out, we would change a couple things, day shift would come in, we would come back, and we would be like, do. And we lost that progress. And obviously, like, we didn't know what we were doing, so, of course, if none of us know what we're doing, we're gonna have a little bit of backtracking like that. But yeah, no, it was like a really good way to kind of show us, like, hey, this is the kind of, and like after that we all kind of sat down and we talked about it, and we were like, this is the kind of thing that happens when you don't communicate with each other. Did you see how hard it was? And we were all just like, yeah, that was way harder than it. Like, I'm sure if we weren't rotating and we could just sit there and look at it for like half an hour, we would probably have it done in said half an hour. Communication is very much so key. And that is why one of the rules of my channel involves communication. Where communication is lacking, someone's not listening, something happened. It's a chain of events that leads to these crashes happening. Like, you can kind of see that in all the things that I've talked about. So, you know what, I'll go back to the F-16, because I thought that one was kind of funny. Just the way my professor told it was kind of funny, but now that I think about it, I'm like, you know what, that mechanic wasn't trained properly, and someone could have very easily died. That's actually not as funny as it sounded at first. Okay, anyway, so, with that, so, like, the afterburner fell out of the plane. Luckily, everyone was okay. If you weren't here at the beginning, everyone was fine in that one. But they talked to the mechanic. The mechanic hadn't been trained properly. So, it's like a chain of events of problems that lead to the final, I guess, blow. Where it's like the mechanic wasn't trained properly. No one checked his work. Now they were flying. Luckily those planes can, kind of exist without a good few parts. Like, there was, I think it was either an F-15 or an F-16 that had, like, a mid-air collision. The pilot and the navigator managed to fly it 10 miles back to their base and land it, and they were fine. And all they had to do was just rip the broken parts out of the wing and just slap a new one on there, and it was fine. But, buddy, I would not really want to be in the air, like, and lose an engine. Or I don't want to lose anything, preferably. I would like my plane to continue working at, like, full capacity. That would be pretty cool. So yeah, I think I'm going to cut it off here today, because I have been ranting very much enough about, communication is key and chain of events and road to hell is paved with good intentions. I think we've all had enough of me saying things like that. So next time I will probably have a more fun thing planned. I might do a flight simulator at some point. I was doing a flight simulator last night over at my friend's dorm, and I was flying. I think it was an F-35. I think, pretty sure. Yeah, I'm gonna roll with that. It was an F-35. I was flying the F-35. I was doing fine. And then I looked over because someone walked into the room, and I looked over for a little bit too long, and next thing I know, I'm in like a straight nosedive towards the ground, and I was like, I want to see what happens, and I just let it crash, and it was really funny. And then I was just driving down the highway on an F6 or on an F-35. I really like F-16s, if that wasn't obvious. Anyway, thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you maybe learned something about aviation a little bit, because that is the goal. I hope you have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, night. Good luck on midterms if y'all have them. And Void signing off.